Have you ever wondered what made the geniuses of Al-Andalus and the Idrisid dynasty so brilliant? What if we could peek inside their minds and compare them to our brains today? Well, we can't exactly get a time-traveling MRI machine, but through the lens of history and neuroscience, we can explore some fascinating ideas. Let's dive in. Picture this: the vibrant cities of Cordoba, Fez, and Baghdad during the Islamic Golden Age. These weren't just places, they were bustling hubs of knowledge, innovation, and culture. Scholars from different backgrounds gathered, debated, and built upon each other's work. Think of figures like Ibn Rushd, also known as Evros, a master of philosophy, medicine, and astronomy, or Fatima al-Fihri, the visionary woman who founded the University of Al-Qarawiyyin in Fez, the world's oldest continuously operating university. What was going on in their brains? Neuroscience tells us that our brains are incredibly plastic, meaning they can change and adapt based on our experiences and environment. The brains of these historical figures were shaped by a world that was vastly different from ours. For starters, let's talk about memory. In an age before printing presses were widespread, memory was a superpower. Scholars memorized vast amounts of text, entire libraries of poetry, scientific treatises, and religious scriptures. This intense training would have significantly developed their hippocampus, the part of the brain crucial for long-term memory formation and spatial navigation. Imagine having a mental GPS and a personal library all stored in your head. Today, we often outsource our memory to our smartphones. We don't need to remember phone numbers, directions, or facts because Google is just a click away. While this is incredibly convenient, it means we exercise those specific memory muscles a lot less. So, their hippocampal gym was likely getting a much more intense workout than ours. Next, let's consider language and multilingualism. The intellectual hubs of Al-Andalus and the Idrisid dynasty were melting pots of cultures and languages. A scholar might speak Arabic, Berber, Latin, and Hebrew. Being multilingual is like a constant workout for the brain. Studies show it enhances cognitive flexibility, problem-solving skills, and even delays the onset of dementia. It strengthens the brain's executive functions, managed by the prefrontal cortex. These scholars were constantly switching between linguistic systems, which would have made their brains incredibly agile and efficient at managing information. While many of us today are bilingual, the sheer necessity and depth of multilingualism in that era for an educated person was on another level. Their brains were wired for cognitive code switching in a way that is less common today. Now, think about their problem-solving approach. Without calculators or computers, complex mathematical and astronomical calculations were done by hand and in the mind. Figures like Abbas ibn Firnas, the legendary inventor of Cordoba, conceptualized flight and created a water clock. This required immense powers of visualization, abstract reasoning, and sustained focus. The neural pathways in their brains dedicated to mathematical reasoning and spatial manipulation would have been incredibly well developed. They had to build mental models of the universe, of engineering problems, of philosophical arguments, from the ground up. Today, we have software that can simulate and solve these problems for us. This frees up our cognitive resources for other tasks, but it also means we may not be developing those specific, deep, focused, problem-solving circuits in the same way. What about creativity and interconnected thinking? The scholars of this era were often polymaths, masters of multiple, seemingly unrelated fields. A doctor might also be a poet. An astronomer could also be a musician. This wasn't just a hobby. It was a holistic approach to knowledge. They saw the world as an interconnected whole. This type of thinking fosters incredible creativity. By drawing connections between different domains, they could generate novel ideas and insights. This cross-pollination of knowledge would have created a rich and complex network of neural connections. In our modern world, we tend to specialize. We become experts in one narrow field. While specialization is powerful and has driven immense technological progress, we might be missing out on the kind of big-picture creativity that comes from being a true polymath. So, were their brains fundamentally better? Not necessarily. They were just different, sculpted by the unique pressures and opportunities of their time. Their brains were optimized for deep memory, multilingual agility, and holistic, first principles thinking. Our modern brains, on the other hand, are adapted for a world of information overload. We are masters of multitasking, quickly filtering and processing vast streams of data from multiple sources. Our brains are wired for rapid pattern recognition and quick access to external information networks. We might have less hippocampal storage for raw facts, but we excel at knowing where and how to find information instantly and integrating it on the fly. You could say their brains were like deep, comprehensive libraries, while ours are like high-speed, powerful search engines connected to a global network. The environment of learning was also key. Imagine studying in the tranquil courtyards of the Alhambra or the bustling libraries of Fez. There was a profound emphasis on contemplation. Today's learning is often faster, more solitary, and screen-based. While online courses offer incredible access to information, They might not stimulate the same social and contemplative neural pathways that were so active in the historical madrasas and study circles. In the end, this comparison isn't about saying one type of brain is superior to the other. It's about appreciating the incredible plasticity of the human brain and how it adapts to the world it inhabits. The geniuses of Al-Andalus and the Idrisid dynasty had brains perfectly tuned for their era of discovery and synthesis. We have brains tuned for our age of information and connection. Perhaps the biggest lesson we can learn from them is the value of training our minds. We can still choose to cultivate deep focus, to learn a new language, to memorize poetry, or to explore subjects outside our area of expertise. By doing so, we're not trying to replicate their brains, but we are honoring their legacy of lifelong learning and building a richer, more flexible, and more creative mind for ourselves. The human potential for brilliance is timeless. It's just the tools and the training that change. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey through time and the human mind. If you found this fascinating, please hit that like button, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below. What mental skills from the past do you think are most valuable today? See you in the next video.